Before you listen to the Tech Talk Daily podcast, I have to ask, are the high levels of uncertainty you're experiencing keeping you from making bold moves? Are you able to clearly see and act on the game-changing opportunities the pandemic has created? I'm Daniel Burris, serial entrepreneur, global technology futurist, and disruptive innovation expert, and right now, you have a choice to make. You can react to problems and disruptions after they happen, or you can learn to accurately anticipate disruptions before they disrupt and identify and pre-solve problems before they happen, giving you the ability to turn disruptive change into your biggest advantage. If you want to take control of your future and make a significant impact now and in the years ahead, join thousands of leaders from around the world by becoming a member of my Anticipatory Leader System, where you'll get the latest insights, processes, tools, and virtual coaching that will give you the certainty and confidence you need to actively shape a better future for you and your organization. Go to techblogwriter.co.uk and click on Daniel Burris.
Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. And all I've got to say to you all is keep hanging on in there, gang. We are just a few weeks away from finally waving goodbye to 2020 once and for all. And yes, it has been a difficult year for everyone, myself included, and indeed, wherever you are listening. But we've all been on this journey together. And for businesses, I think they're all now looking to leverage technology to streamline workflows, automate manual tasks, fix broken processes in a secure manner, whether that be in the cloud or outside the cloud, and essentially turning everyday tasks into remarkable results. So when I discovered a company called Formstack ticks all of those boxes and more, I felt compelled to invite them on the podcast today to find out a little bit more information. Because as you all know, I came from an IT background and I saw all too often what happens when business units go technology first, problem later. So hearing about Formstack doing the exact opposite, I think we need to dig a little bit deeper on that, don't you? So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to Oklahoma. And no, I'm not going to sing it. I know you'd like me singing on this podcast, but we're not going to sing it today. I'm going to beam your ears all the way to Oklahoma so we can speak with Chris Byers from Formstack. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, thanks so much. It's good to be here. My name is Chris Byers, and I am the CEO of Formstack, and we help people really collect data and put it to work. And so that in its simplistic format is help people kind of in a no-code way build, say, web forms, collect data on their website, or maybe build a job application, whatever it happens to be, and then begin to put that into your workflows and into your kind of process automation so you can hopefully in your organization save time, save money. And we just love that idea of reducing those menial tasks to get rid of them.
Excellent. And a question that I often ask my guests on this Daily Tech podcast, Chris, is, especially people such as yourself with successful tech careers, is where their passion for working in technology came from. Can you remember what put you on this path?
You know, I don't know exactly what started it, but I have always been fascinated with the idea that software can really take things, and I guess maybe everywhere I go, I am bothered by things that look like they should be automated. And so a great example is when you go get your driver's license, or when you go, especially when you deal with government offices, or, you're in the UK. So you're on one enormous EMR or kind of health record. But here in the US, we, have to fill out papers every time we go to the doctor, and so those things just look like every time I see something like that, I'm like, this should be automated. This should be digital. This should be much easier to do. And so I am just kind of, I think that's always motivated me. How can we find software to solve more of these problems and help people really get back to their real work? Because it's not filling out paperwork.
I think it was Microsoft that said recently that many businesses during this year, which has been an incredibly difficult year for businesses and people alike, wherever anyone is listening in the world, but essentially that many listeners have performed 2 years of digital transformation in just 2 months. And I always think that digital transformation should be a journey, not a destination. But I'm curious, why do you think so many digital transformation initiatives fail?
We're all filled with inertia in our lives. We know how to do things the way they're done today. And that always seems like it could be just a bit easier than putting the effort into maybe trying to find software, or, as you know, worse than finding the software is then you've actually got to kind of back up and say, all right, how does this process work in our organization? And they need to document it and maybe talk to some people and say, how do you do this? And how do you interact with this particular process? And that just takes a long time. It takes a lot of effort. On the other side, I think you can have some amazing successes and amazing time saved, but you really have to force yourself to do that. And so this blunt force of lockdown this year has caused that, because everybody was trying to do things differently. And so it has turned out to be a positive thing when it comes to digital transformation.
And apologies in advance, because this is a pretty big question, and probably it's probably a podcast episode completely on its own. But what do you think the key considerations are to ensure success of a digital transformation are?
Well, I see probably a handful of things. It takes, I suppose, leadership throughout the process, because even a small change to maybe an HR process, it really takes convincing people that this is a good thing, and teaching them how can you jump in and maybe engage with this new change that we've made and it be more effective for you, because people will not always be your friend when it comes to change, because they too need teaching. And so maybe the biggest thing I've been learning lately is that we need to invest a lot more time in teaching. As a company, I'm really bad at that. In fact, we tell people when they come in to Formstack that we're not very good handholders, which kind of means we're not very good teachers. We're not going to bring you along. We're going to say, here's your objective, go do it. And of course, come back to us with questions, but we want you to learn how to do it on your own. Well, I think what we miss there is teaching people basic skills and basic ideas that could help them become that much more effective in taking on new processes or taking on digital transformation. And so we're actually thinking about a lot more video content for next year, so that people can, especially when we've got something new, we can teach them, here's how you use it, and here's why it's good, and here's the good stuff about it. And so I think that education portion is something we all spend way too little time on.
Now, I suspect we will have a few decision makers listening all over the world. And for those people, can you expand on why and how companies might want to reconsider their digital transformation strategy after rapidly evolving during COVID-19 and now looking to hit the ground running in 2021?
What so many people kind of experienced this year was that it's actually not that hard to switch to remote work. So people left the office, they figured out which video technology to use, which chat technology, maybe they got some other software. And so that actually probably turned out to be surprisingly easy. What gets really complicated is when we have to solve collaborative problems. So productivity really goes up in a remote world, but collaboration goes down. Like it's a much harder to do. And so I think I would encourage decision makers to actually spend some time on that and say, how do we, as our organization, how are we going to keep collaboration going? And maybe that's, you still need to use the office once a quarter, or, every once in a while to gather a few people for collaboration. We have only traveled twice during all of this, but we did it 2 weeks ago because we weren't getting a particular problem kind of solved for next year. And it's just amazing how people around a whiteboard can solve a problem pretty quickly. And so I think there's this wide open space, though, to find ways to do that digitally, so that those collaboration moments still can take place in a digital world.
I don't know. And it does seem like 6 months ago, everyone was talking about the difference between working from home versus working in the office. And I think possibly the best way forward is some kind of hybrid approach where you can get the best of both worlds. And it does feel like many businesses out there are almost caught between a rock and a hard place right now. So do you think organizations must undergo digital transformation and adapt quickly and possibly upgrade their company culture as well quickly if they can adapt and evolve to survive? What do you think there?
Yeah, I think you touched on two things that are really important. First, the hybrid environment. I think actually the hybrid environment is a wonderful way to live. You get the benefits of working at home for plenty of people, which saves people so much time and allows them to take care of family things so much easier. But on the other side, the hybrid kind of other side of being and having an office, maybe being still physically located roughly in the same city or within a short distance, allows you to get together at times and solve problems. But I think, I think if you do have an organization who is not used to using technology first, finding maybe it's a hire or maybe it's somebody from the outside to really inject them into the system and say, all right, how can you come in and show us what software should we be using? Or how can we get more people using particular products, because there are some amazing products out there that are around project management or chat or how to app building that can be custom to your company. And those things, as you embrace them and as you see like one success at a time, you'll get a lot more people excited about it and want to embrace those things.
And at Formstack, you proudly state that you provide a workplace productivity solution that actually helps companies streamline workflows, automate manual tasks, and fix archaic, broken processes securely, whether they be in the cloud and without code. And when I first read that, what struck me was it's almost like a tick list of everything that businesses are going through and the kind of problems that they want to solve. It's almost like you were ahead of your time there, especially as the pandemic's hit this year. But can you expand on the kind of problems that you're solving for your customers?
I think the most important thing we do, and you have these in all of your organizations if you're listening, you've got people who they can kind of envision how a process can work better. They may just not be technical. And so what we love to do is build software that is built for the non-technical user, the no-code user, to say, all right, I can envision, I don't like how this reimbursement process is going. And so I'm going to go in and build it in some no-code technology. I could do that in minutes, maybe a couple days, and we can get an MVP of something going and really try out, could this work better? And as you know, the actual product is the easiest thing for people to react to. And so when you can build those things rapidly, we just think you can empower lots of people in your organization to create digital transformation. And I guess what we're talking about is rather than the top down, the CEO, the managing director comes in and says, here's how we're going to do this. And we're going to make a big investment in software. What we're trying to do is empower more, frontline workers or managers to be able to solve their own problems so that nobody's really even having to have a conversation about it. They're just going and building, quick solutions to problems. And all of a sudden the organization says, oh, that's cool. Can you do that for my organization or my team or my department? And it kind of grows organically.
And just to kind of bring to life some of what we're talking about here, can you possibly tell me a little bit more about how these code or no code tools can actually help with a smooth transition during a digital transformation? Because I think that'd be so valuable, especially for those decision makers listening.
Yeah, I think what no-code tools do especially is, they may be the solution to your problem. So take an example where maybe I want to streamline onboarding for new employees. When somebody comes on and starts in the organization, maybe I don't like the process because today we kind of dump their computer out there for them and say, have fun, we'll see you later. And so maybe I want to build a process where they have resources to read and then quizzes to take so that we understand, are they gaining the knowledge? Well, I could go buy software potentially to solve this problem. A consultant comes in, we pay a lot of money. And at the end of that whole process, we're all frustrated because it's still not working like we want it to. Well, no-code tools mean the HR manager can jump in, build their processes, say, in forms, or say in an application builder, or even in project software. Everybody can try it out, and maybe it's actually the ultimate solution to the problem, or at least it proves very quickly, and I'm talking about in, again, minutes or hours, here's how this process is going to flow. Everybody can try it out a little bit and say, yep, all thumbs up, this is great. And that just gets you so much faster engagement. And then you may want to go on and use that consultant or use a bigger software purchase. But again, you may say, this actually solves my problem and will cover us for the next couple of years. So let's just use this no-code solution. Low-code just gets into, you do need to understand a little bit of code, maybe some JSON, JavaScript. If you can code just a little bit, you can do even more advanced things. But to me, equipping that no-code or non-technical user is a wonderful place to be.
And before we started recording today, we were talking about what a turbulent year it has been for businesses and people alike. But we are now thinking about life in 2021. So I've got to ask, are there any trends and businesses that businesses need to be aware of and possibly prepare for next year? And how do you see Formstack adapting and help businesses on that landscape as it continues to evolve? How are you planning on helping them? Is there anything you can share on that?
Yeah, I think two things people are going to experience a lot of next year are, first of all, I don't think the economy is going to just get in this straight line up that everybody can count on growth like it had been happening. And so because of that, I think companies should still stay on the defensive and make choices that aren't, let's not stretch every dollar that we have to toward growth, or spend every dollar. Let's make sure we're being wise about that spending, but that will impact people on all sides. That if you're a seller of something, that's going to mean a little bit slower business. And so I think being efficient next year is a really good way to look at the year. And, then maybe related to that is, because we've gone remote, lots of companies will find too much software now strewn across their organization. And so I think consolidation, both from an efficiency standpoint, cost standpoint, but then from just a psychological standpoint, will be an important trend for next year. So I've bought all this software. Do I really need 10 pieces of software, or can I wind that down to, say, 5 that are a little bit more agile and can solve multiple problems and multiple kind of categories instead of as many applications as I may have today?
Well, I've loved chatting with you today. But before I do let you go, can I ask that you remind everyone listening of where they can find you guys online and contact your team if they've got any questions, and possibly also tell them a little bit more about your own podcast too, which I hear you have.
Yeah, and I've enjoyed the conversation too. I appreciate it, Neil. And I think for us, if you want to learn more about Formstack, we are just at formstack.com. But if you want to continue similar conversation topics, we're talking on a podcast we call Ripple Effect about this idea of reimagining your world of work. And it's all about what we've been talking about here. How do you take these constructs that we've had for years of working in an office environment, and how do you transition to being smarter about work and doing that in a digital world? Because it's definitely where we're all headed. And so I think the faster you can embrace it, the faster you're going to get on the right growth curve for your organization.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. There's so much I loved about the conversation, especially, I think, from a business value point of view, how you're leveraging technology to help companies streamline those workflows, automate manual tasks, fix broken processes, all the big things that businesses are going through right now. But more than anything, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for sharing your story. And I'd love to get you back on next year and see how things are evolving for you too. But thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Neil. It's been great.
As you all know, I love looking and understanding the scale of a problem first and then looking at tech for a solution. Sadly, I do see many doing it the other way around. But for me, Formstack seemed to get that balance right by addressing all of the problems that people are looking for help with right now. By addressing all of the problems that businesses are looking for help with right now. So I loved chatting and learning more about why so many digital transformation initiatives fail and the key considerations to ensure success in 2021. And also why and how companies might want to reconsider their original transformation strategies, especially after rapidly evolving during COVID-19. but how low-code or no-code tools can help with smooth transition during digital transformation, and how organisations can adapt quickly in order to thrive and survive in this new year that's on the horizon. Well, this is a journey that we're all on together, and I suspect that you've all got your own opinions and insights that you've got to share too. So join me on the virtual battlefield, share those conversations with me by simply emailing me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. My website is techblogwriter.co.uk. If you want to come on the show, you got any questions, or just want to share your thoughts after listening to this episode, let me know. So that's techblogwriter@outlook.com. My website is techblogwriter.co.uk. You'll find over 1,400 interviews on there, not to mention the podcasts that I host with Citrix and Netgear, and also how you can work with me, whether that be outsourcing your thought leadership and tech blogs, or letting me take care of the editing and production of your own podcast launch. But I don't want to be the guy that outstays his welcome at a party. I've taken up far too much of your time already, and I will be back in your podcast feed bright and early tomorrow. So thanks for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.